Today's date is the 17th of November 2017, and today I'm recording part 2 of my 3-part series, the British Boxing Review. Part 1 went up yesterday. It covered some of the top prospects. We had a top 10 list of prospects currently active in UK boxing who I thought had the highest potential out of the current crop. If you haven't already done so, please feel free to take the time to check out that video which went up yesterday on the 16th of November. It's going to be a 3-part series today, focusing on established contenders who are in a good spot to challenge for world titles in their next couple of fights. So we're going to cover that in this video, and then for the 3rd part we'll focus on the elite of British boxing and focus on the top 10 pound for pound currently fighting in Britain. So yeah, hoping you guys like this new 3-part mini series, if you like. At the time of recording, part 1 has been up for something like 22 hours, something like that. It's got about 1,200 views, about 90 of you guys clicking the thumbs up button, so really appreciate all that support and want to make videos that are of interest to people and want to make videos that people want to watch. So you know, hopefully that support continues. Let's move on and let's discuss the top 10 contenders currently active in British boxing who are in a good position to win world titles in their next couple of fights. When I'm ordering these guys, I'm not necessarily saying number 1 is better than number 10. I'm saying number 1 is in the best position to win a world title, and that could be due to any number of reasons. We're excluding fighters for the purpose of this list who are already established world champions, and we're also excluding prospects who are undeniably very good fighters with very high upsides, but are some way away from being what I'd class as a contender, somewhere away from being in a world title fight. So just like we did in yesterday's video, we're going to start by a few honourable mentions, because look, not everyone on this list can win a world title. There's only so many world titles available, and I've had to focus on the 10 guys who I think are the most likely to be successful in that pursuit. But there's other names who I don't completely rule out of winning a world title who couldn't make the top 10. So I'm going to run through them very briefly for a few honourable mentions for you guys. So let's start with the heavyweight division, and I'm going to give 3 honourable mentions: David Haye, Tony Bellew, Dillian Whyte. Look, I didn't put any of these guys in my top 10. The reasons being that I think all of them are beatable for a variety of different reasons. Dillian Whyte, I'm just not sure he's top class. David Haye, I'm not sure if he's over the hill. Tony Bellew, I'm not sure if he's actually a heavyweight. You know, and the reason I didn't really consider including these guys is I think the depth of talent at heavyweight, especially among the world champions, is very busy at present. I think there's a lot of top class fighters currently holding belts, and I just didn't think, with some of the weaknesses I see in these 3 guys, that I could necessarily say they were likely to win a world title. Would I rule it out? Absolutely not. Is it possible? Could David Haye beat Tony Bellew and then get a big fight with Joshua and find one last haymaker right hand? It's not inconceivable that could happen. But do I think it's likely on the balance of probability? Do I think these guys deserve to fit in the top 10 of the most likely contenders to win a world title? I decided against it. Honourable mentions, all of them aren't a million miles away. In heavyweight boxing, one punch can change everything, and you know, it wouldn't be the biggest surprise in the world if one of these guys got themselves in a position to fight for a world title. But for my money, I'm going to say that it's less likely to happen. Similar, I'm going to mention 3 fighters in another weight class. In this case, the featherweight division. Kid Galahad, Scott Quigg, Josh Warrington. All of them good fighters, all of them proven at different levels. Scott Quigg held the regular version of the WBA title before, if I recall correctly. All of them are fighters who, you know, maybe aren't a million miles off being a world title level fighter. I haven't included them because of the depth of talent in their division. You know, you've got guys like Frampton, Santa Cruz, you've got guys like Gary Russell Jr., Oscar Valdez, Lee Selby. You've got these sort of killers in and around that weight division. I thought all 3 of them were just a little bit behind that standard. Very good fighters, guys who could win a world title if things fall right. Quigg and Warrington, are they perhaps a little bit too scrappy? Are they a little bit too lacking in technique? Are they a bit too open? Kid Galahad, is he a bit too unproven, a bit too untested at this stage? You know, those factors just made me side against this triumvirate of featherweights. So, honourable mentions, could it happen? Yes. Are they on the top 10 list? Not at this stage. Anthony Crolla and Ricky Burns, you know, I'm thinking these are guys who've come to the autumn of their careers. They're both guys who've won belts before. They're both guys who have probably overperformed against initial expectations given their skill sets. But, you know, for me, probably their best days are behind them. They get honourable mentions, but not the most likely. Liam Walsh, an honourable mention for Liam Walsh, you know, a guy who I really, really rate, a guy who I thought could win a world title, but came up painfully short when thrown in against Gervonta Davis. And I'd admit that Gervonta Davis isn't just a world champion, but he's an elite world champion, and Liam Walsh came up painfully short then. Will he get the opportunity to get another world title fight? You know, he's not a guy who sells a lot of tickets. Could he win a world title? Conceivably. If things fell right for him on his day, conceivably he could. Will he get that opportunity again? I'm not so sure. Does he have the drawing power to merit that opportunity again? I'm not so sure. Is the water sufficiently deep in his division to question whether he's got the punch resistance to win a belt? You know, I think some of the chips are stacked against Liam Walsh at this stage of his career. So he gets an honourable mention, not included in the top 10. Amir Khan, another one who gets an honourable mention, not included in the top 10. He's not included in the top 10 because, to be honest, I question if Amir Khan's even a boxer these days. You know, he's been inactive. He's had his celebrity Twitter spats. He's now going on, I'm a celebrity, get me out of here, celebrities in the jungle. You know, he seems to be more inclined to build his profile that way than in a boxing ring. You know, he's got a lot of miles on the clock. He's been knocked out a lot of times. Is he a world championship caliber fighter on his day? Absolutely. Could his best days be behind him? Could he be old for a young man in the sport of boxing? Could his heart and mind be away from the sport at this stage? I do think so, yeah. I think if Amir Khan comes back, it's going to be a focus on big money fights as opposed to winning a world title. So Amir Khan, not one of the most likely guys to win a world title for me. Similar, and this one will surprise a lot of people, Kell Brook. You know, Kell Brook is another guy who, like Amir Khan, is a guy who is very, very old for his age. Kell Brook's last couple of years have aged him greatly. He's had very bad injuries. You know, he's been fed to the wolves against Golovkin. He's been fed to the wolves again against Errol Spence. Real tough, real grueling fights. And I think, looking and listening to Kell Brook in recent weeks and months, I think Kell Brook's motivation is fiscal at present. I think he wants to come back to the sport and make as much money as possible. You know, I think Brook and Khan could face off against each other. I think Brook could face, you know, other big name boxers in pursuit of huge paydays. Is he inclined to go down a final eliminator route to win a world title? I don't know. I don't know if he is. And I also wonder if, with the water being so deep around him, you know, the likes of Furman, the likes of Errol Spence, you know, the likes of the light middleweight champions, be that Charlo, be that Jarrett Hurd, you know, be that some of the other names. Is the water so deep around these divisions now that guys like Amir Khan, guys like Kell Brook, guys who've maybe had some of their best days beaten out of them, you know, do they still, they're championship caliber fighters on their day? Absolutely. But are they likely to go and defeat one of those guys? I actually think it's questionable. So I've excluded them from the list. I don't think they are the most likely to be successful. Final honourable mention, we'll get on to the top 10 after this, I promise. You know, we've gone for a top 10. If we'd have maybe gone for 11, I'd have maybe, oh, hang on a sec. Might be a rookie error from me there. Yeah, do you know what? I actually had Kell Brook at number 10 and this guy at number 11, but I decided very, very last moment to swap them. So Kell Brook, honourable mention, number 11. This guy, number 10. You'll have to bear with me for 1 second longer when I explain it. So there are the honourable mentions. Guys who I think could win world titles. Guys who, if they get the right fights, probably have the calibre to do so. But guys who either I'm not sure they're going to get the big fights, either I'm not sure they're going to want the world title fights when they can focus on the money fights, or guys who just you've got reasons to doubt them. I mean, guys like David Haye, Kell Brook, on their day, these are some of the top boxers in Britain. But are we going to see them on their day anymore? So we're going to get into the top 10 without further ado. And, you know, in this top 10, as I say, it's not necessarily saying that these are the best 10 fighters. It's that they're going to be the most likely to win world title belts. So let's start with number 10. Number 10, I've gone for Bradley Skeet. Now, this is a controversial choice because Bradley Skeet operates in the same division as Kell Brook and Amir Khan, who didn't make the list. And the general consensus would be that Amir Khan and Kell Brook are higher level operators, more proven operators, and put simply better, more dangerous fighters than Bradley Skeet. And I can understand that. You know, I could see a logic behind that. Why have I gone for him in the top 10? Well, it's because of Frank Warren and because of the WBO. You know, Frank Warren and the WBO, very, very good links there. I think Frank Warren is potentially in a position to get Bradley Skeet to be a mandatory for the WBO belt. And I actually think stylistically Bradley Skeet matches up incredibly well with Jeff Horn, who's the current champion. Jeff Horn taking a voluntary against Gary Corcoran, another Frank Warren inmate. And I think Warren can really push to make that fight between Horn and Bradley Skeet. You know, stylistically, Skeet very elusive, very long range, very slick. You know, a stylist, technician. I think that could be yeah, a real problem for Jeff Horn, who's a come forward, brawler mauler type fighter. If Bradley Skeet does get that fight, by no means a certainty he wins it. I see it as a 50-50. But I view that as a realistic route for Skeet and a realistic fight. And based purely on that probability, I've included him on the top 10. Couldn't have him higher than number 10 because the other champions at 147 are very strong. Guys like Furman, guys like Errol Spence, names I've already referenced in this division. Contenders below that, guys like Sean Porter, guys like Danny Garcia. You know, real strong elite level fighters. So I think Bradley Skeet's only chance is by going that WBO route, which means he's lower on the list than he could have been otherwise. But I do think Frank Warren is the man who can deliver that shot for him. So Bradley Skeet, I rank at number 10. Number 9, it may be another unpopular choice, I'm afraid. Liam Smith. You know, Liam Smith, again, people may think, why is Liam Smith on the list? Yet some of the guys who are potentially better, higher level fighters than him didn't make the list. Once again, it comes down to positioning. You know, Liam Smith is going to be very highly ranked. He's a former champion, obviously lost his belt to Canelo Alvarez, who's now vacated and moved up in weight divisions, and he's in a very good position. He's coming off 2 back-to-back wins over Liam Williams. I believe that fight served as a final eliminator, and with Miguel Cotto possibly looking to up and exit the sport, I think Liam Smith is in a real prime position to be getting that WBO shot. Again, Warren and the WBO have excellent links, and if anyone can navigate him and steer him towards that belt, it can be Frank Warren. So number 10 and number 9, you know, I couldn't have them, either of them, too much higher because they're both in very deep stacked divisions. You know, if Liam Smith had to fight for a world title against a Lara, a Hurt, a Charlo, one of those names, it would be very hard to pick Liam Smith. But I'm putting these guys in the top 10 based on the WBO, based to them working with Frank Warren, and based in the fact that they're already highly ranked and in very good positions. So Liam Smith comes in at number 9. Number 8, let's keep it in the family, Callum Smith. Now, I think Callum Smith has actually got several routes to winning a world title, and this is why I included him higher up the list than the other 2. He maybe doesn't have as clearly defined a route as the other 2, but I think he's got several opportunities. Namely, number 1, he's already in the semi-finals of the World Boxing Super Series. He starts his semi-final against Jürgen Bremer. Rightly or wrongly, he starts as a major favourite with the bookmakers. His final fight will be for a version of the world title. Whoever it's up against, either Chris Eubank Jr. or George Groves, whichever one of the 2 he's fighting, that will be for a world title fight. Obviously, George Groves is currently a champion, so whether he beats Eubank or whether Eubank beats him, the final fight, Callum Smith has a good chance of beating Jürgen Bremer. That's no gimme by any stretch. That's no definite by any stretch. But Callum Smith has a stone wall route towards a world title. And you know, he's got a good puncher's chance whoever he's up against. I make him an underdog in both the Eubank and a George Groves fight. Do not misunderstand me. But I think he's got a definite route to that fight. Now, even if he loses that fight, I still think he's got a route to James DeGale. James DeGale looking for opponents. He's fighting Caleb Truex next time out. Disappointing opponent. DeGale's going to want the biggest fights. He's going to want the best fights. The Eubanks and the Groves fights, clearly those are big money matchups, but those are going to be very, very tough fights to negotiate. There's a lot of egos in play. There's a lot of bad blood in play. DeGale and Callum Smith, they've tried to make that fight before. I think they can try and make it again, and I think there'd be increased willingness, given both guys' respective positions, to make that fight again. You know, I still think if Callum Smith was to be unsuccessful in the World Boxing Super Series, I still think that fight would be available to him. I still think that's a fight that can be made. DeGale's only on a one-fight deal, Frank Warren. Potentially Eddie Hearn could put that on Sky Sports pay-per-view. So I think Callum Smith has two routes to the world title. Even if he were to be unsuccessful in both, I actually think Callum Smith could have a third crack up at light heavyweight. He's a very, very, very big guy. He'd fill up to a 175 fighter easily. You know, he's 6'4", very big, broad shoulders, big frame, lean guy. He could fill up to 175 easily. And 175 is an interesting division. You know, a lot of big names coming through. Guys like Dmitry Bivol, guys like Artur Beterbiev, and more names than that as well. But you've got the number 1 Andre Ward leaving the division, the number 2 Sergey Kovalev coming off back-to-back defeats, and number 3 Adonis Stevenson. I don't know how old Adonis Stevenson is, but he must be really, really, really getting on a bit. You know, if Callum Smith were to go up in a year's time, in 18 months' time, you know, Adonis Stevenson will be on his bus pass by then. So I think Callum Smith has 3 tangible chances of getting a world title slot. Does he win any of the 3 of them? I actually think he's an underdog in all 3, but the fact I could see him getting regular title slots, he's one of these fighters like a Paul Smith, like a Martin Murray. You know, he's got a bit of a name with that Sky platform. He's been branded well as a prospect on the way up. Not the kind of guy who could surprise me if he gets multiple chances, and therefore I've got Callum Smith in at number 8. Number 7, Hughie Fury. For me, a hard guy to rank. I'll be perfectly honest, I know this comment doesn't win me too many fans. I think Hughie Fury already deserves to be a world champion. On my scorecard, he beat Joseph Parker. I think he's proven he's got the class to win a world title belt. I think he's a difficult fight for any man, and I think you could make a tangible case that on his day, Hughie Fury is one of the best fighters in the heavyweight division. He's lacking in resume in the extreme, do not get me wrong. But despite the fact his resume says a loss to Joseph Parker, looking at the fight, you can see that at least Hughie Fury is comfortable operating in a world title level. The reason I don't have him higher is because I think it's going to be very, very hard for him to get the fights. Hughie is not a big name. Hughie is not a big ticket seller. Hughie is not a big pay-per-view star. Is he going to get those fights against the Wilders, against the Joshuas, when he's such a risky fight and he brings so little to the table commercially? If this was a list based on who could win a world title fight if they got one, Hughie would be higher up, but it's not. It's who realistically is going to win a world title. I actually think it's going to be hard for Hughie to get another opportunity. I think he's high risk, low reward. For that reason, I have him at number 7. Number 6, Paul Butler. Now, we kind of know what level Paul Butler's at. You know, when he stepped up and faced the elite Zolani Teti, he lost, and lost well. He lost badly, in fact. But on his day, he's a very, very good fighter. He was scheduled to fight Jamie McDonnell next time out. But the understanding is that Jamie McDonnell will move up in weight and potentially vacate his title. That leaves his new team, including Eddie Hearn, in a prime position to negotiate a chance for Paul Butler to get a shot at the world title. I don't know what level of opponent he's going to be up against, but Paul Butler in with a good chance of winning it. You know, he's got 2 wins over Stuart Hall, who himself is a former world title holder, and I think Paul Butler in a good position to get that opportunity and take advantage of it. Paul Butler, yeah, maybe he isn't as classy a fighter as Hughie Fury, but I think he's more likely to get that opportunity, and I think he could well take advantage of it this time around. So I've got Paul Butler at number 6. Number 5, Luke Campbell. Luke Campbell's career best performance came in defeat against Jorge Linares. For me, he did a better job against Jorge Linares than Kevin Mitchell. He did a better job against Jorge Linares in fights 1 and 2 than what Anthony Crolla did. He's at 135. 135 has been a strong division, but could it potentially be becoming a slightly weaker division? Terry Flanagan's just moved up to 140, which means that title is now vacant. Mikey Garcia, who may well be considered the consensus number 1 at lightweight, seems to be jumping up and down in weights, you know, showing a willingness to fight at 140, maybe even 147. That could very, very easily leave a route to Luke Campbell. You know, we know Luke Campbell's had problems outside of the ring with tragic circumstances surrounding his family, but he's proven on his good day he can be a tough guy to handle. You know, a lot of people had that Jorge Linares fight very, very, very close. I believe Eddie Hearn even made the comment that he believed Luke Campbell won that fight. Now, I disagree with that statement, but nevertheless, Luke Campbell showed that he was comfortable at a Jorge Linares level and deserves an immense amount of credit for that. He's marketable, he's an Olympic gold medalist, he's got a big platform in Sky. I think he can come again. I think he can take advantage of it next time out. I think Luke Campbell is a realistic world champion. I've got him at number 5. Number 4 is going to be a controversial choice. I've gone for none other than Tyson Fury. There's huge amounts of reasons to doubt Tyson Fury. His weight, the fact he's 25 stone plus. His license, or more accurately, the lack of one. The fact that he doesn't have a fight date. You know, many reasons to doubt Tyson Fury. Put simply, will Tyson Fury get a fight? Yes. Tyson Fury is the biggest fight out there for Anthony Joshua. Tyson Fury is potentially the biggest fight out there for Deontay Wilder. Tyson Fury has earning potential, for my money, of between $50 and $100 million in the space of a year's work if he wants to come back to the ring and ply his trade. I think he's going to have to find the motivation to come back with that money at stake. I also think the other champions will be more open-minded to fighting him. After all, he's a guy who's in horrible physical shape. He's a guy who's had a huge period of inactivity from the ring. He's not the biggest puncher in this world. I think he'll get the fights. You know, I talked about Hughie being high risk, low reward. Well, Tyson Fury is high reward. How much risk you see him as varies from person to person. But if Tyson Fury comes back at anything like the level he was when he fought Vladimir Klitschko, for me, he beats every single one of them, and with a little bit in hand. You know, will Tyson Fury come back? Yes. Will Tyson Fury get the fights when he comes back? For me, it's a certainty. Will he win them? Well, there's reasons to doubt him. There's more reasons to doubt him than there's ever been to doubt him in his career to date. That's why he's at number 4. But I think he's in a great position to get the big fights, and that's why I put him so high on the list. If he's still the Tyson Fury of old, and he's still in his 20s, he's a very tough man to beat. Now, 1, 2 and 3. These are the fighters who I would say I am confident of winning world titles. You know, we talk about numbers 10 to 4. Realistic cases could be made for all of those guys. You know, they really could. These 3 are guys I would stick my neck out and say they will win world titles again. Number 3, Carl Frampton. Frampton, one of the best fighters in Britain. It will be of no spoiler whatsoever to say that for my pound for pound video, it is likely that Carl Frampton will make that list. You'll have to check it out when it's uploaded to see exactly where. A proven elite world-class fighter. Let me tell you why I haven't put him higher up the list. The water's very deep in his division. I suspect he's a guy who's financially motivated at this stage of his career. The big fights are going to be difficult fights. There's the third match, the trilogy with Leo Santa Cruz. That's a 50-50 fight, could go either way. There's the fight against Lee Selby. From a stylistic perspective, I actually think Selby's a bad matchup for Carl Frampton. I think Frampton's celebrity, Frampton's drawing power, means that he is the kind of guy who, even if he lost to Lee Selby, could possibly still get a trilogy against Leo Santa Cruz. So I've put Frampton up at the top based on the position that he's in and the name that he's built for himself. Could he realistically lose against Santa Cruz and Selby? He could. You know, these are not gimme fights by any stretch of the potential. But Frampton is not only an elite name, he's not only a British pound for pound name, but he's in a name in a prime position to get these fights. So I've got him at number 3. Number 2, Josh Taylor. You know, a lot of people asked me yesterday, why is Josh Taylor not on your prospect list? My answer, he's well above prospect level. In that video, I specified a prospect for me was someone who had less than 20 fights or someone who'd performed at a level below European level. You know, in beating Ahara Davis, especially in beating Miguel Vasquez the other day, I now think Carl Frampton is above Euro level. Josh Taylor is above Euro level. I think Josh Taylor's win over Vasquez is actually world-class level form. I believe that is championship caliber form in its purest form already. Frankly, I think Taylor is the guy who can unify belts. Frankly, I think Taylor is a guy who can win belts in multiple divisions. 140 has been a strong division, but you know, Postol and Dongo, Broner, Felix Diaz, these sort of names all look beatable now, having been beaten quite convincingly by Terence Crawford. And the man himself, Terence Crawford, he's exiting 140, he's moving on to pastures new at 147. So Josh Taylor potentially is coming to that world-class level at the perfect time. The road is going to be clear for him, the fights are going to be there for him. He's been brought along nicely, and he's in a big position to take advantage of some of those titles that Terence Crawford has vacated. I think Josh Taylor will win world titles, and if he's brought along correctly, he could definitely win world titles in 2018. Which leaves me to number one on my list. Number one on my list is Chris Eubank Jr. Now, if Chris Eubank Sr. was watching this video, which I think is unlikely, Chris Eubank Sr. would probably disagree with me, because Chris Eubank Sr. would say that Junior is already a world champion. For the purposes of this video, I will specify that I'm talking about the 4 major governing bodies, so we are not including the IBO World Championship, as one of the live belts. Whether you consider the IBO a world title or not, Chris Eubank Jr. is fighting George Groves next time out. George Groves is a reigning champion with one of the 4 recognised belts. I believe he is the WBA Super Champion, although don't shoot me if I've got that wrong. Chris Eubank Jr. is taking on George Groves. I see that as a close fight. At the minute, I'm slightly leaning to Chris Eubank Jr. I think Groves will struggle with the pace, the ferocity, the relentlessness, the work rate, and the inside game of Chris Eubank Jr. So for me, putting Junior at number 1 was actually a relatively easy choice. He's the only guy I'm aware of on this list who has a confirmed world title fight in his very, very next matchup, who isn't currently a world champion as far as I'm concerned. And more than that, not only is he in that position, but he's also someone that I would slightly lean to in that fight at this point of Paul. So Eubank Jr. for me definitely deserves that position. Frankly, even if he loses, his credibility, his celebrity, his name is so high at the minute that unless he loses in devastating fashion, I think Eubank Jr. will get other opportunities. The Gale fight would be massive. Perhaps he could drop back down to 160 and fight Billy Joe Saunders. That would be monstrous. Perhaps the Golovkin fight could happen again. Who knows? Who knows? The Eubanks are so crazy. Perhaps he'll even step up to 175 one day. Eubank is a huge draw, and huge draws get opportunities. It may be unfair, but that's life, that's business, that's boxing. Chris Eubank Jr. for me, the most likely guy to win a world champion out of the current UK crop of contenders. Let me read through it. Bradley Skeet at 10, Liam Smith at 9, number 8 Callum Smith, number 7 Hughie Fury, number 6 Paul Butler, number 5 Luke Campbell, number 4 Tyson Fury, number 3 Carl Frampton, number 2 Josh Taylor, number 1 Chris Eubank Jr. Eubank and Frampton I'm particularly confident in Eubank and Taylor I'm particularly confident in that they will go on to win world titles. Let me know your thoughts, guys. Maybe I've missed someone out. I wrote up a little list kind of off the cuff. Perhaps I've missed someone out obvious. Guys like Brook, guys like Khan, big names. Guys like David Haye, huge names. Controversial leaving these guys out. These are more proven commodities. These are guys who've already reigned at world title level, much more proven than some of the names in my top 10. So let me know if you disagree. Let me know who would make your list. Let me know who's going to win a world title and who's going to come up short. As always, appreciate you guys tuning in. Few ways you can support what we're doing here. Click the thumbs up button. That means it gets more visibility. Hit subscribe if you haven't done so before. We're getting some good momentum on subscribers. It feels like only yesterday we hit 6,000 subscribers. I checked today, and at the time we were one short of 6,100. So We're growing slowly but steadily. Hit that subscribe button, keep the momentum going. Leave your comments in the section below. You can also add me as a friend on Facebook using the link in the description. You can follow me on Twitter at Boxing Gossip. And please do tune in, because tomorrow we will hopefully bring part 3, which is the pound for pound top 10 in Britain, which will conclude the 2017 British Boxing Review on the channel. Many thanks for tuning in. Genuinely mean it when I say it, but I appreciate you guys taking your time out to watch my content, especially all of you hardcores. How long? 10 seconds short of half an hour, who spent the whole 30 minutes watching me ramble into this camera. Many thanks, appreciate the support. Have a good one, guys.